Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel Study with Dani. My name is Daniel Lottery and I'm excited to have you here. If you are new here, kindly subscribe to the channel and click on the post notification bell icon so that you don't miss any new video. From the title, I guess you already know what this video is about, so let's get right into it. The speaking test requires a unique approach to achieve a decent band score. Hence, the main objectives for this video are: understand the speaking test format. I give you tips for each section of the speaking test. You should be able to practice on your own and gain confidence to achieve a band score of 8.0 or above. And now to the introduction. You might be nervous about taking your IELTS speaking test, but with these tips and plenty of practice, you'll be well on your way to building your confidence and getting the IELTS band score you need. The IELTS examiners assess your speaking skills against the following assessment criteria: fluency and coherence, which involves talking at length, able to be understood, and using linking devices; lexical resources, using a range of words and paraphrasing, avoiding errors, and using less common vocabulary; grammatical range and accuracy, using a range of sentence structures and avoiding errors as well; pronunciation, able to be understood throughout the test, able to use intonations, and accurate word and sound pronunciation. For both paper-based and computer-delivered IELTS, the face-to-face speaking test is made up of three parts. By understanding what happens in these three parts of the speaking test, you'll be better prepared. Take a look at my previous video on how to prepare for IELTS at home in 1 week to understand the speaking test format. However, here is a brief overview of the speaking test format. Understanding the speaking test format. The speaking test takes place either a few days before or after the other three modules. The entire test lasts for about 15 minutes and comprises three sections: the introduction, individual long turn, and two-way conversation between examiner and examinee. In part 1, you have 4 to 5 minute conversation with an IELTS examiner about yourself. In part 2 of the speaking test, you'll be given a card with a topic. You'll be given 1 minute to take notes on the topic and will be given a pencil and paper to prepare your response. You would then speak on the topic for 2 minutes. For part 3, you have a conversation with the IELTS examiner around the topic given in part 2, discussing it in more detail, and part 3 should take approximately 4 to 5 minutes to complete. Now let's get right into the speaking test tips. For tip 1, do not memorize answers, especially in part 1. Memorized language doesn't give the examiner an accurate measure of your English language skills. The examiner will be able to tell if you have memorized your answers, and this may influence your final band score. Tip 2, do not use big and unfamiliar words. You may want to impress the examiner with big and complex words in your speaking test, but to be safe, avoid using words you are not familiar with. There's a higher chance of making mistakes by either mispronouncing words or using them in the wrong context. Mistakes can affect your final band score. Use a wide range of vocabularies that you know which is relevant to the topic being discussed. For tip 3, you can also use a range of grammatical structures. Try and use a range of grammatical structures using complex and simple sentences to express what you want to say. Know your own errors and practice speaking to friends in English, or record yourself to see if you can spot errors. If you hear an error, make sure to correct yourself. You are assessed on your ability to use different grammatical structures accurately. So it's important to practice speaking about the past, the present, and the future using correct tenses. Tip 4. Do not worry about your accent. With a face-to-face speaking test, the IELTS examiner understands a wide range of accents, so you will be able to understand what you say, unlike an AI machine. If you can communicate well, then there's nothing to worry about. But do be aware of sounds that you have difficulty with, and make sure to use stress and intonations, as English is a stress time language. Practice with friends and they will tell you if they can't understand what you are saying. So another tip is sometimes you can pause to think. There's actually no harm in taking a brief pause to think about what to say. We all do it to process questions. You can use phrases to give you time to think during the speaking test. Like for example, you can use phrases such as, "That's an interesting question. I have never thought about that, but let me see. That's a good point. That's a difficult question, but I'll try and answer it to the best of my knowledge or to the best of my ability." Well, some people say that is the case. However, let me think about that for a minute. For the sixth tip, I'll say you have to avoid using fillers. Speak confidently and avoid using filler words. We generally use fillers when we don't know what to say. However, this shows the examiner that you can't access the appropriate language or ideas. So it's important to avoid them and to use the phrases we gave you in tip 5. These are examples of fillers that you have to avoid, like, you know, um, ah, eh, well, yeah. So instead of using these fillers, you can use the tip from tip 5 to help you to have some time to think about what you like to say and to process the questions. Another tip is you have to learn how to extend your answers. Try and answer the examiner's questions in full. Extend your answers and don't wait for the examiner to prompt you with a question. When your answers are short, this shows the examiner that you cannot talk in detail about a topic. If the examiner asks why, they are actually prompting you to give a reason for your answer and to extend more fully. Tip 8. Smiling actually helps with pronunciations. Smiling can help calm your nerves, which in turn helps your pronunciations. Make sure to enunciate clearly, opening your mouth wide enough so that sounds come out clearly. When we smile, our mouth is bigger and the tone of our voice is more friendly. Using clear enunciations and tone will show the examiner that you can use a range of pronunciation features. Tip 9. Do not speak in a monotone. Sometimes when we speak, we produce a flat sound, that is a monotone, with little variation. This makes it more difficult to express what you say and makes it more difficult for the listener to identify what parts of your message are important. Putting emphasis on certain words and pausing at sections in your speech can make your conversation with the IELTS examiner more engaging. When we emphasize certain words, it makes it easier to compare and contrast ideas by stressing key words. It also increases the flow of conversations. So remember, don't speak in a monotone. If you're wondering, let me try and read the previous paragraph in a monotone. So here it goes. Putting emphasis on certain words and pausing at sections in your speech can make your conversation with the IELTS examiner more engaging. When we emphasize certain words, it makes it easier to compare and contrast ideas by stressing keywords. It also increases the flow of variation. So remember, using this as an example, you could hear a flat tone with no variations, but you're expected to speak in this manner. Let me use the last sentence of the previous paragraph. It also increases the flow of conversation. So remember, so you could hear that my tone was actually fluctuating, and you could hear pauses, and you could hear me stress on some of the words so that the examiner can focus on them and it can help him to compare and contrast. Let's continue. Vary the stress and intonation to add emphasis, like what I did. Use your hands to gesture and help the rhythm of your conversation. So sometimes you may not feel comfortable in speaking, and maybe your hands can prompt or urge you to speak about a particular thing or to help you stress on a particular point. So use your hand gestures. Tip 10 is actually simple and straightforward. Practice common IELTS topics. Part 2 of the IELTS speaking test requires you to speak on a given topic for about 2 minutes. Practice common IELTS topics with friends, family, or colleagues to improve and to learn vocabulary associated with each topic. Look at the topics in Tip 10. Making vocabulary lists or mind maps to help you learn more words and phrases connected to these topic areas. Common topic areas that you can practice your speaking test include tourism and travel, education, transport, environment, family life, sport and recreation, advertising and retail, the internet, crime and punishment. The last and ultimate tip I'll give you is make a good first impression. Look good, smell good, feel good, and remain calm. Be confident as well. Although it may not seem very important, a strong first impression will go a long way. Combine these tips with the IELTS practice materials to build up your confidence. You can find the IELTS practice materials in the description section below, where I'll leave a link to my GitHub repository for you to access these practice materials. As the saying goes, practice makes perfect. So with plenty of practice, you will be well on your way to getting the band score you need in your IELTS speaking test. Hopefully, it will be a band score of 8 or above. Thank you very much for staying with me up to the end of this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share with your friends. If you have any question or topic that you'd like help with in learning, leave it down in the comment section and I'll try my best to attend to it. Click on the post notification bell icon so that you'll be alerted whenever a new video is uploaded. Here at Study with Dani, we teach in order to learn and we learn in order to teach. Stay safe. Bye bye.